Welcome to the 1204. Racial bias in America is a real thing. Anytime there is a crime, a violent crime, that involves a white victim or black victim and a white perpetrator or a black perpetrator, if the victim is white people are going to be on the side of the victim, and black people will be on the side of the perpetrator, and vice versa. Americans are very, very race obsessed. I am not at all surprised by the obvious racial bias we are seeing today with the Austin Metcalf situation and Karmelo Anthony. The racial bias is blatantly obvious for all to see. Because I am not surprised at all that white people are on the side of the victim, Austin Metcalf, who is a white teenager. And I am not surprised at all by black people on the side of Karmelo Anthony, who is a black teenager. Black people see it as self-defense. White people see it as murder. And they want Karmelo Anthony punished. Listen, I am on the side of white people in America. I believe this was murder, plain and simple. And I hope Karmelo Anthony is dealt with accordingly. I hope he is sent down for life. Now, just because just because the white people are right in this case, it don't mean that they are not biased. Because you can be right, but you can also be biased, racially biased. Let me explain. So white people believe it was murder. And I think anyone with any kind of common sense could obviously see this is murder, plain and simple. However, if you reverse the roles, if this was Austin who stabbed Karmelo Anthony, and it was the same circumstances, we're just gonna swap the knife. So instead of Karmelo Anthony carrying the knife, it was Austin carrying the knife, and the situation went down exactly like that. Those white people who are calling for Karmelo Anthony to be punished accordingly, they are going to say Austin was defending himself. There is no doubt about it. Because I saw a comment, and this comment on one of the videos on YouTube made me laugh. A white person said, if you reverse the roles, you will see rioting. You will see looting. Now, this white person was trying to say that had that been the other way around, black people would have been marching and protesting. And I said to him, if this was the other way around, white people would be saying that Austin defended himself. The racial bias in this case is disgusting. And is blatantly obvious for all to see. I don't care the color of my skin. Yes, I am black. But also, it's worth adding that black Americans won't see me as black. They're going to see me as a bush meat eating tether. But that's a whole different discussion. But this situation is one of the most senseless murders I have ever heard about. This is so ridiculous. Why is this boy carrying a knife to school? Or a track meet? I don't even know what a track meet is. So maybe somebody would care to explain. Why is he carrying a knife in the first place? And this is the thing. This is why I believe he should be done for murder. He said to Austin, put your hands on me and see what happens. Austin put his hands on him and he pulls out a knife. This is my thing. Because I think you black people, you know, in America, you people are very dishonest there. You're not keeping it real. I definitely do believe self-defense. Somebody should have the right to use deadly force if their life is threatened. That situation there is no way. There is no way that was necessary. Are you guys seriously saying that if somebody puts their hand on you, then you have the right to use deadly force? If that's the case, then you're only giving people a license to kill. And I believe a lot of Americans have a license to kill. Let me go off topic just for a second here. I watched a video one time of this father. He went to the ex-wife's house to go and see his son. And then the ex-wife sent the boyfriend out, the current boyfriend. The current boyfriend came out the house with some type of machine gun weapon. And he ordered the father to remove himself from his property. The father did not do that, and the current boyfriend shot the father down. Now, here's the thing. Every box was ticked in that situation for self-defense, because technically you've got a man on his premises who was asked to leave and he refused to do so. Yes, the guy got a bit aggressive, but surely that is not worth taking someone's life. Because now let me go back to the Karmelo situation. If he doesn't have a knife in his bag, two things would have happened. Either he would have had to have stood down when he was asked to leave, or he would have had to stand up. That would have been nothing but a glorified fisticuffs. Good old-fashioned fisticuffs in that situation. And both parties would have walked off, more than likely. I know you can be killed by a punch. I'm not stupid. But let's face it. 9 times out of 10, both parties are going to walk off from that fight. I don't really like quoting movies, but I'm going to quote what the dad said in Friday to Craig, Ice Cube. The dad walks into the bedroom. He sees Ice Cube, or Craig, should I say, cocking a Glock pistol. And the dad said to him, what do you need that for? And he said, I think he's something along the lines, he's got a problem with people in the street or whatever, something like that. And he wants to defend himself. And the dad said to him, listen, you young people are just punks. He made his son put down the gun. He told his son to put up his hands and make a fist. And he said to him, these are the only weapons you need. You win some and you lose some, but you live to fight another day. You young people are just being punks. And that is what Karmelo Anthony is. He is nothing but a violent punk. And I hope he is sentenced to life in prison. Because this can also teach a lot of young people, especially young men, white, black, all races. Because Karmelo Anthony, this is somebody who had some talent, who was going places apparently. And he has potentially thrown his life away. For what? An argument over a chair. How is that? I mean, it doesn't even make any sense. And he was willing to kill somebody over this. And yes, I'm saying he did it intentionally, because here's what I don't get, yeah? What did he think was going to happen? When you stick a knife in someone, like, look, here's the thing. I'm going to have to go up. Let me go off topic again. The area I'm from in South London, there was a boy, well, I won't talk about that situation, but one of my friends was actually killed. He got stabbed in his buttocks. And the people that did that, believe it or not, they weren't trying to kill him. They were trying to rob him, and they've stabbed him below his waist, thinking that they could, you know what I mean, innit? I mean, have him hurt so they can rob him. But these idiots did not realize that there's actually an artery there. And my friend bled out on the streets of South London. Karmelo Anthony cannot use the same excuse, because I believe those boys weren't trying to kill anything that day. Because if they were, they would have aimed the knife higher. This guy stabbed somebody in their chest. What did he think was going to happen? What did he think was going to happen when he put that knife in that boy's chest? So, I'm not buying it. Because here's the thing right now. Self-defense for me is if you are backed in a corner. Like, for example, right now, if somebody is in your house and they're not trying to hurt you, and they're trying to hurt you, and they're not leaving your house, and you've got no other option, fair enough. What happens, happens. You do what you have to do. In this situation, he could have walked away from the situation. And I know some of you are going to say, well, what's his face? Austin could have also walked away too. I agree. Don't worry. I will get on Austin after. I'll make a video about Austin, because I believe what he did was foolish. But I'm sorry, you can't go around using deadly force against people because they touched you. And if you black Americans are seriously okay with this, if you are seriously okay with people, using deadly force because somebody made contact with them, then I really, really feel sorry for you people. Because that kind of mentality, you are only going to open up a can of worms that cannot be closed. Let's think of was it the early 90s or was it the late 80s with Natasha Harlins? You saw what happened in that shop in California. Over a bottle of orange juice, the Chinese lady in the shop blew her head off. The Chinese lady has tried to grab hold of her. She slapped the Chinese lady's hands away. The Chinese lady pulled a gun, shot her in the head. And by the way, the Chinese lady actually got off the case. She didn't go to prison for murder because Natasha, or Latasha, whatever her name is, made contact with her. And black people in that situation knew that was fucked up. in more recent years, you've got George Zimmerman. This is what I'm trying to say about racial bias. Even though George Zimmerman doesn't look very Caucasian to me, but hey, white people still had a racial bias. They embraced him like he was one of their own. And they supported him. Oh, for fuck's sake. Look at this fucking rain. You know? I spent about 15 hours on a plane travelling out of England to get away from that bad weather, only to be met with the bad weather. Oh dear. But you had George Zimmerman. Because Trayvon put hands on him, he believed, and the jury believed, that he was in his right to use deadly force. But if you take the gun away from George Zimmerman, if you take the knife away from Karmelo Anthony, it's either two options. There would have been two outcomes to that situation. The first outcome is both of them would have bitched out of that situation. They would have stood down and kept it moving. George Zimmerman may not have followed Trayvon. Karmelo Anthony would not have said, touch me and see what happens, because what we understand is both of those, George and Karmelo Anthony, George Zimmerman and Karmelo Anthony, these are just like the dad said in Friday, they're nothing but punks who are willing to use deadly force rather than having a good old-fashioned fisticuffs. George Zimmerman was a punk and Karmelo Anthony is a punk that carries knives around. Listen, Karmelo Anthony is more of a punk than George Zimmerman because it takes more. Listen, anyone can shoot someone. A fucking 3-year-old can pull a trigger. All you do is put your hand on that trigger and you pull the trigger. A monkey can do that. But to stab somebody, you've got to have something about you to stick a blade in someone. So I think this guy would have been somebody who always would have killed somebody. No doubt about it. 17 years of age and he's willing to stab somebody over something like that. If he's willing to stab if he's willing to stab and kill someone over something like that, imagine what he would do if you really pissed him off. And black people supporting this guy, do me a fucking favor. Is this really the type of people you want in your neighborhoods? You people are up to your eyeballs with violent scumbags like Karmelo Anthony. And it sounds like you people want more of that. So no, I hope he is dealt with by the legal system, of course. Oh, this rain is fucking pissing me off. Oh God, peace.